is that depending on what your management agreement stipulates, as Terry said, there's, it may be a fixed commission rate, but as he just mentioned, as the band grows and expenses incur, those expenses have to be, they have to be covered. So do you raise the commission of your manager, or do you designate recoupment of certain expense areas that you relieve from the management as an expense to him, but comes out of the business and the band income? There's all these kinds of things you really got to get into when you negotiate and as your relationship evolves.
Terry's brought up a good point too. Our company has never handled any of the band's money. I've never really seen that as part of my job as manager. But I know that is, and very thankfully they should be for that. But for the most part, there also is, once you get a band up to a certain level, there's the business manager that gets involved, which is separate and independent from the actual manager, and normally that is an additional 5%. Smaller bands at that point, I usually expect them to pretty much do their money internally, because I just don't want to be in that situation of handling their money, due to a possible conflict of interest that somebody might see that at some point. But Badley's being a relatively unique situation where they really trusted and believed in their manager. I wouldn't personally recommend a manager handling the band's money.
But they have to early on.
I don't believe it.
Okay. Well, it's just that once you want a major label especially, it just takes up so much time because you've got tour budgets. If you're getting tour support from the label, you've got to justify to them. I mean, none of us are accountants, nor do we want to be, So it's just too much work. So it's not a bad idea to take things slowly, and once you get a major label deal, you can't obviously think, well, everything's going to be great now, we can just spend all of our money, So that's, the Badleys have always taken everything one step at a time and done it very slowly and intelligently, So even though I didn't like that I had to do all the business stuff this past couple of years, we were able to get to a certain point, and now we're ready to do that.
As an upstart man, it might be wise just to befriend an accountant and just take a meeting with them. I mean, it may sound cold, but there's marketing milk and there's marketing music, but you're selling a product, and producing and marketing and selling that product is, there's still X amount of expenses that are given and known, and developmental factors, and a business plan. And you as a band, if you don't yet have management or an agent, then to at least get some self-knowledge about getting organized.
Yeah, probably before you even get a manager, get an accountant. Because you need to have everything set up.
Yeah, because even before you have a manager, you're probably going to be playing some shows, because how are you going to get a manager if you can't come see you do shows? So you're going to be out there doing some shows, and you're going to be paying gas and trucks and road crew and whatever else, you should have an idea and an understanding of the mechanics of expenses and income, and showing, okay, here's the income from a gig, and here's the expenses for the gig, and this is what's left or not left, a deficit or profit, just to get an understanding of it all.
It is real important, probably with some of your first people to probably meet with, way before managers and agents, is going to be an accountant. And it doesn't have to be even one that specializes at first in the entertainment business, but you do have to, and it is really smart for a band to first figure out how they are going to structure their band. And more than likely it's going to be, some form of a partnership. There's really no point in probably starting a corporation that early on. And formalizing exactly how this business is going to be structured among band members, and then going out and finding an accountant, that will help you set up a set of books. First, get you a federal ID number. You really don't want to be going out and gigging, even at any point, even on a smaller band, and end up at the end of the year with $40,000 on your Social Security number.
That's right.
You know, because you're going to sit there and do your taxes that year, and you know the IRS compares it to the year before. And I'm not going to give anybody tax advice here, but at the same time, it is really important, I think, for to set your business up, get a federal ID number, and structure your business that you're going to be legit. You're going to pay the taxes on the money that you set up, because you don't want to have a nightmare. And I've seen band after band get into situations, and all of a sudden, 4 years into it or 3 years into it, get a tax bill of a ridiculous amount of money, which can pretty much end up breaking the band up because they didn't properly deal with that from the start.
Is that an issue that you would leave in the hands of your manager, or would you let the artists themselves take that?
Like I'm a firm believer that if a band's going to last for the long haul, they better learn to do a lot of stuff in their own business, and that's going to mean taking care of money and going out and collecting your money at the end of the night, and being a responsible person, because being a band's a big responsibility. And in that respect, I think that the accountant's you should be right there from the start, going out, and setting yourself up as a legitimate business, right from the very beginning.
So that should be one of the first steps. We are artists. We're not accountants. We're not.
True, but you don't want to not be an artist in the future because you screwed up something, in the past.
Would a lawyer, some kind of entertainment lawyer, be, a good avenue, like an accountant type person?
I don't even think it's that, because we're not talking about rocket science here, We're talking about just the basics of running a business, much in the same way if you were going to, run a business out of your house or out of your garage or something like that. There's just certain things that you're going to do. You're going to, at the end, come January, after a year of any band, going out and playing some club shows and stuff like that, they're going to get 1099 forms come January, and that shouldn't become a surprise to them. They should go into this and anticipate it, because once you take your music out of the basement or out of your bedroom, now it's business. And once you're getting paid for it, you better deal with it as a business. Or just sit there and make music for yourself and your friends. But if you're going to try to make a living at it, you better be serious about the business aspect.
My business is still in the bedroom.
It's true.
Doing these manage solo artists, and an artist expects, if you have, to when it comes time to meet the networking of musicians for the artist, is that part of your job?
Managing a solo artist is a pain in the neck, very simply, because it's just very, very difficult, because they're all alone, and you have the complications of a band. At some point, how's that solo artist going to perform? There's going to be a band involved somewhere, and in the early stages, it's very difficult, because you have no money to pay for an entire band to be performing with you when you need to be performing with it. It's more expensive to be a solo artist, and it's more difficult, because as a solo artist, sometimes you find a tremendous talent that plays every instrument, like a Prince, but even Prince has a band, but the solo artist, you can't do everything. You need musicians, you may need songwriters, producers, whatever, whereas a band, they write their songs, they play their songs, some of them produce their own albums. There's a contained unit there to work with. I've been with Whitney Houston for 10 years, and although, her father is actually her manager of record, there's so much involved, with hiring her band and going into the studio and everything that's involved. It's very difficult. So if you're a solo artist, you and your manager are going to have a little more special relationship than an artist and a band. A manager and a band. There's going to be more demands on your manager, and there's going to be more demands on you in getting cooperation from band members that will work with you for low dough or no dough, and then your band members may change from time, you're not going to get the same band every night possibly, unless you can swing the money to keep a band full time.
Well, what you suggest now, I'm in a situation where, talking to you guys, I mean, I have the tax ID, I've been management, I've had my own business for 6 years, and we're getting right down to the nitty-gritty what I'm doing, which is considering being manager of a young solo artist, very young, and guiding her career. What
kind of artist? See, when I meant solo artist as a pain in the neck, I meant in respect of if you're along the lines of a Alanis or a Celine Dion, or someone that's going to be a pop rock thing.
Right.
Or, if you're an acoustic solo artist and you're a singer-songwriter, that's different. That's not such a tough nut as the big production kind of solo artist.
Well, I think my question is, this girl is very young. I mean, we're talking 16 years old, who has an unbelievable voice. I believe in her 100%. Everything she's touched since she was 9, 10, singing-wise, is turning gold. And she's at the status right now where we have to decide, do we put a band behind her? How to promote her? What's the best way? So when we get down to the point, because obviously, I mean, the chances of her getting signed or whatever, good, bad, or indifferent. I want to make the right decisions now, very early.
We have an artist right now that is just finishing her album. I'm also the general manager of Whitney's Elektra label. And we're going to be releasing our first album in May with basically Whitney's protege named Shanna. And she spent an entire year on tour with us, really tuning into what it takes to be on stage and everything that goes along with it. And we still have not even addressed the fact of a band for her, or musicians. It's first things first, get the songs written, get it on tape, they better kill, and then get a record done, and when the time is right, you bring the other things into play.